Now, it certainly isn't everybody's idea of a good time, but come October, two men are going to be heading across the Atlantic in a boat. And we're not talking a yacht or a ship, we're talking a rowing boat. Christian Havrehed and Sun Haibin will be one of 50 boats competing in the Ward Evans Cross Atlantic Rowing Challenge. It starts on the 7th of October, and the aim is to row across the Atlantic from Tenerife to Barbados. The rowing boat Yantu was launched in April this year, and they are going to be the only competitors from Asia. Here to tell us more about it is Christian Havrehed and Sun Haibin. Christian, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Now, firstly, you'll be doing the talking because Sun only speaks Mandarin.
Correct.
That's right. Well, firstly, how did you two get together then? You sound like you've come from quite different backgrounds.
We do come from very different backgrounds. After I had registered for this project, I thought I wanted to make an event in China, make it a very China-focused event. So I built my boat in China, and also I wanted to find a Chinese rowing partner. Because we're using this event to raise scholarships for mainland Chinese students to study at Atlantic College and International School in Wales. So when I had that idea, I went and I contacted the China Rowing Association, and then through the China Rowing Association I met up with Sun Haibin.
Right. And what's his background?
Sun Haibin is an Ironman triathlete. So he's not a rower as such, but he's an endurance sports athlete. And he is the protege of Zhang Jian, the long-distance swimmer who recently swam the British English Channel.
Right. And do you speak Mandarin?
I do, otherwise we would be really stuck out there.
Well, I was going to ask that. There might be a bit of a communication. No, you pulled the left, Rollick. No, you the right. Now, firstly, tell me, why are you doing this race? When did the seed first be sown in your mind that you wanted to row across the Atlantic?
I always wanted to do an extreme adventure, something like rowing across the Atlantic, but I actually never thought I was going to row anywhere. So it was only in 1998 that I heard about this challenge, and then immediately when I heard about it, I thought, it sounds like an excellent thing to do. I heard about it when I was sailing on a yacht from Hong Kong down to Singapore, which was part of the BT Global Challenge. The BT Global Challenge, Hong Kong has actually just had an entry in that, a boat called the Spirit of Hong Kong.
Right.
So I was out here when they were doing the promo trip. For that, I sailed with them.
Fantastic. Would have been fun. And so you thought rowing would be a good idea. I mean, obviously it's going to be quite difficult, a lot harder than sailing.
Absolutely. But also I think the challenge and the fulfillment from having done it will be much bigger. I mean, here we're two people, and we have to completely rely on ourselves. We have to bring all our food. We have a water maker, so we can convert salt water into fresh water. So it's a very self-contained challenge. If we had gone, say, if I had done something like the BT Global Challenge, you would have been out of a team of 18 people, and you could argue that there's less fulfillment in that.
Now this is correct me if I'm wrong, it's the second time that the race has been run.
Correct.
It's right, and it was originally in 1997, the first one, is that right?
Correct.
And there wasn't there's 50 boats entered this time, but last time there wasn't quite so many as that, was there?
No, last time there were 34. I mean, that was the first time the race took place, and I mean, until then it hadn't really been a popular thing to row the Atlantic for, I guess, a number of obvious reasons, like it's very tough.
It's an ocean.
It's an
Another
ocean.
one. Yes.
Yeah.
Now, it was won by two New Zealanders too, wasn't it?
Yeah, correct. Two New Zealanders, one called Bob Hamill and the other Phil Stubbs.
Right.
They won the race in 41 days, which was it was very quick compared to anyone else who had rowed the Atlantic before.
41 days though, I mean, it doesn't really sound quick when you think of two people out in a rowboat trying to cross a sea which can be known for being quite treacherous. Now, have you done much rowing? Have you had much rowing experience?
Until I signed up for the race, I hadn't had any rowing experience, and nor had Sun Haibin. We both had the sea kayaking experience, but rowing is very much different.
Okay, now tell me about the boat. How big is the boat?
The boat is 7 meters long and 2 meters wide.
That's not very big.
No, but you have to be able to move it yourself. So I guess from one point of view, the smaller it is, the easier it is to row. It's still going to weigh in at about 800 kilograms, fully loaded.
Right, and how is it all set up? I mean, how do you make a cross-ocean rowing boat? I mean, obviously it has to be different to just something that you're going to take out on the lake.
Sure. It's, the race organizers, they actually provide you with the kit for the boat. and we then had that constructed in China. And then the Royal Hong Kong Yacht Club, they are now fitting out the boat so it's ready for the race. So it's designed in such a way that it's self-righting, and it's the same design as was used in the last race in 1997. And also there's a British gentleman, who's just finished rowing the Pacific alone in 274 days, if I remember correctly. And they have all used that boat, so it's a good ocean rowing design.
Right, and obviously there's a part of the boat that's covered, so you will be protected from the elements if things get rough.
Yeah, we have a cabin, and if the weather gets really bad, we'll throw out a drift anchor and then go in there.
How big is the cabin?
Well, it's big enough you can. It's about the size of a bedroom in a standard Hong Kong flat, I guess.
So tiny.
Yeah, very tiny.
And what about the toilet? Where's the toilet? Is there a toilet?
No, it's just the bucket and chuck it.
Forces of nature. That just sounds lovely. And what about navigation? How are you going to navigate?
By GPS and compass.
Right.
Navigation, in a way, is relatively straightforward because we're going from east to west.
So,
I mean, if we don't hit Barbados, we'll be sure to hit either North America or South America.
you'll hit something.
Yeah.
Now, what about whales? Talking of hitting something, what is the likelihood of you spotting whales on your passage?
I'm not sure. I'm sure we'll see a number of marine life, like dolphins and schools of fish. I don't know whether we necessarily will see whales.
Because they can sometimes be quite dangerous, can't they, for small craft that are out in the ocean?
Probably, yeah. But I mean, I guess if we were run over by a whale, that would be an extreme event.
Yeah, well, you'd probably get quite a bit of coverage on it too, wouldn't you? You get a lot of press coverage. Now, tell me a little bit about your food. I mean, what are you going to be taking? How long are you going to be rationing for? How many days? And what sort of food can you take that's not going to go off? I mean, obviously in the salt water too, things are going to get very humid, very moist.
Yeah, we are pitching for doing the trip in 56 days. It seems quite doable. That's about 100 kilometers a day, or slightly less than 100 kilometers a day. The food we're going to take has been specifically prepared from by a nutritionist in the UK. So we're going to be eating each about 6,000 calories a day, and that's equivalent to a kilogram of a half of food, which is what a normal person eats in 3 days.
You're going to need it, aren't you? You're going to be doing an awful lot of exercise.
Correct.
And exercising, when you're rowing, are you using all of your body? Do you use your legs as well? Are you on sort of one of those things that sort of, I don't know what it's called, that sort of moves when you row, or is it stationary?
No, we got a sliding seat, so both upper body and lower body.
So you're pretty much working everything out. By the time this is over, you're going to be very, very, very fit.
Yep.
Now, what has been involved with your preparation? You've mentioned that you both haven't had much rowing experience. How have you gone about preparing for this race?
Well, I mean, we've logistically had a big challenge because Sun Haibin lives in Beijing and I live in Hong Kong, and it hasn't always been easy for him to come down to Hong Kong to practice. So every time he's been able to come down, we've gone out and rowed as much as possible. Yesterday we came back, we did a 53-hour trip. So we went up to Mears Bay and out around some rocks and then rowed back. And we did that really to try and do a long trip, and also to test out the provisioning, the food, see how it all worked out, and it worked out really well.
Is that the longest trip you've done so far?
Yes.
So obviously 53 hours is quite different to 56 days. What sort of stints are you going to be doing on the rowing? Have you got some sort of a roster worked out?
Yeah, we're gonna be rowing 3 hours on and 3 hours off. So one person will be resting whilst the other one rows.
It's going to be very exhausting, isn't it?
Yes.
Now, what do all the fishermen think? Like you mentioned that you rowed up to Mears Bay and you row around Hong Kong. I've seen the boat out around Hong Kong. What do people think, and sort of the fishing boats think, when they see you out there rowing? What sort of reactions do you get from people?
We've got very good reactions. The fishermen, the marine police, everyone has been incredibly positive and encouraging. They all think we are mad. But they've been really nice, and fishermen come up to us, say, do you want some fish, do you need a tow, etc., and the marine police comes up and says, do you need any help? So people have been very supportive. Excellent.
And what about your support team? Do you have a large support team?
We do. Actually, I mean, it sounds quite easy, build a rowing boat and row the Atlantic, and I thought it was quite easy.
No, actually, it doesn't sound easy, trust me.
But we have a really good support team. We have the Royal Hong Kong Yacht Club. They are kitting out the boat, looking after the boat, and they're doing a really excellent job of that. initially the boat was built up in China by a company called Luyang Boat Building Company, and then we took it down to Hong Kong to fit on electronics and all that. Then we have had a number of sponsors now come on, like Rotary in Hong Kong has been very supportive, Jepson, and for the safety demonstration tomorrow we have Viking, which is a Danish life-saving equipment company. They are lending us a rescue life raft. It won't actually be the one we are taking in the race. That will come directly to Tenerife, but we're going to go on practice in that. And also we're going to have an Iridium telephone, which was the satellite phones that Motorola originally launched, and then it didn't go very well. But now it has been relaunched by Stratus, and it's looking very promising.
Right. Now, you mentioned the safety demonstration that you're doing tomorrow. What does that involve? I mean, what sort of criteria did you have to meet to be able to compete in this race? Obviously, you can't just go out there and, row it, otherwise it'd be very dangerous. What did you have to meet?
Yeah, well, there's a number, the whole is very regimented, the safety aspect of the race. And basically, if you cannot demonstrate that you have fulfilled all the criteria, they won't allow you to start as an official entry. So tomorrow, or what we have done early on in the week, we actually capsized the boat to see whether it was self-righting, and it was. We learned a lot of things from having capsized the boat and being inside the cabin in the process. So we're working on some improvements. But what we're doing tomorrow is inflating a life raft, putting on our immersion suits, life jackets, trying to get in and out of the life raft, using the Iridium telephone, etc. And that's all part of our safety.
To make sure that if things do go horribly wrong, that you're going to have some sort of help. Now, if things do, not that they're going to, but let's just say something does, you hit a big storm, you can get some quite mountainous seas out there. It's not all like a nice flat mill pond. How close is help? Is there a support boat or anything that follows the competitors? Or are you all taking basically the same route, or are you all fairly spread out?
Well, there's a lot of questions in one.
Yeah, isn't it just go?
we will all be taking more or less the same route, but we will be spread out because we won't all be rowing at the same pace. There are 3 boats which are put on by the race organizers to look after the fleet, but that could still mean that you could probably be about 24 hours away from help if you really needed it.
Right. Well, it sounds very, very exciting. And how do you think what do you think your chances are? How do you rate your chances of winning the race?
I don't think we'll win the race. I mean, we haven't had sufficient time together to prepare for that. I think we'll do well in the race. I think we have a good chance of getting in the top 10 and finishing in about 56 days.
And you mentioned that you're doing this to raise money to send mainland scholars to university.
Not university. It's basically for A levels.
I
originally got a I won a scholarship to study at this international school in Wales, UK, called United World College of the Atlantic. There's a United World College in Hong Kong as well, in Li Putun. And then it was a private initiative. I thought it would be nice to fundraise for mainland Chinese students to go to the UK in order to go to the school.
It would be. And how much money are you looking to raise?
Well, we're looking to raise the total of 8 scholarships, which is $370,000 US. $370,000 US. So far, we have raised about 50,000.
Right. And how are you going about raising the actual money?
Well, we've contacted the different companies to see whether they would be interested in supporting our event. I mean, it is a unique event we have. We have the first Asian Chinese to try and row an ocean. We have the first Dane after the Vikings to try and row an ocean, and then we have the only boat ever built in and entering from Asia for the event. So there is some appeal in that, and we have had a good response from a number of companies who either have donated anonymously or have donated in order to try and make some PR for themselves in the process.
Well, we wish you all the best of luck. Thank you very much for talking with us today, and good luck with your safety demonstration tomorrow. I hope the life raft opens.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. That's to Christian Havrehed and Sun Haibin, who are going to be rowing the Atlantic.